Testing everything. Can you hear me, darling?
Yes, I can.
You look magnificent.
I have this most wonderful thing to tell you.
I'm so well. Let's start because I mean it could be just you and I. You and I. This could be the Gay and Tara show. We've always been heading for this week. So, darling, tell me something fabulous.
Today, I will submit the final assignment for my Master of History degree.
What a day! Look, this is a major moment, darling. Wow, you deserve this. Oh, this is phenomenal. Oh, Gay,
So,
done.
so the right club is I'm doing the final proofread.
Well, we're going to make the biggest fuss of you. Can I say, Gay, we might talk about you. We'll work out what everyone would like to talk about, but might talk about you and resilience and overcoming difficulty and stuff, darling. Gay, you are triumphant. And speaking of triumphant, look at Josh. Hello, handsome. How are you, Josh?
Good morning. What's the good news, Gay?
I'm putting in my final assignment for my Master of History today.
Oh, congratulations. That's amazing. Awesome news.
Oh, I think it's unbelievable. So that's brilliant. And beautiful Anastasia is in that magnificent modernist location. Good morning, Anastasia, darling. How are you?
Good morning. I'm fine, thank you. I'm from Melbourne, so just trying to get over this storm that happened a few days ago. Yeah.
Oh, look, the weather's getting interesting. And Vita, darling. Oh, and see your hair's out. And have we got a cat? Is that a cat?
We do have a cat. Her full name is Olive Kitty Meow. That is her full name.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Queen of the Darkness, Olive Kitty Meow, if you're going for title.
Yes. She looks very much like the queen of her surroundings, can I say, and Vita?
We are definitely in her service, Tara.
I look, it's funny, some cats you can just look, I mean, Sajeevan said, see the way she just put her head up like that, like, I know you're talking about me and don't think I care, right? That cat is legendary. Fantastic. Now, and of course, beautiful Adrian's in. Adrian, how are you, mate?
Yeah, good, thanks. Yeah, happy to be here. Good to see you all, and hope you're all doing well and excited about the weekend.
Oh, we are, mate. It's fantastic. Beautiful, mate. And look, Adrian, I thought we've got a few things. We've got a lot of homework people have given us as always, but also our wonderful conversation today, I think, might be enabling for people too, not only for people doing the artifact exegetical thesis, but actually everyone thinking about multimodality and porous research, Josh. So where the boundaries of research are and how we manage those platforms. So we might go there. And look, we'll just wait 1 second for Susan to join for obvious reasons. So, maybe look gorgeous and white. Love you and magnificent. And we need to say happy birthday to Susan for yesterday.
No, it's today.
Oh, it's your today still.
It's my today still. Not still. It's my today. It's Thursday, February 15th in Jamaica.
See, Susan, this is the challenge of having a lot of Australian mates, right? Is that we start your birthday a whole day earlier and we celebrate nice and early, and then you've got your North American friends who keep the birthday going on the other side.
Right. You sent me a birthday greeting yesterday. I was like, wow, yeah.
Oh, well, you are very precious to us. And Susan, I mean, I've known you. How long have I known you now? Forever. And just
I don't know.
I know. You're just so precious to us. So we're thrilled to have you here. And the wonderful Bree's in as well. We're thrilled to see you, Bree. Bree, darling, you are the best in the universe. You express yourself, whatever you're happy to express yourself with today, Bree. We love you very much. Very loved. So look, we will start digital office hours. We haven't done the sort of open slather for a while about any major issue that somebody would like to talk about. And the birthday girl is straight in and Maeve is straight in. This is exciting. So Susan and Maeve, and as I said, always I'm collecting everybody's homework. So my desk is covered with requests, but we need to start with you. So Susan and Maeve, batter up. Let's go. Oh, Susan, Maeve and Gay, batter up. Let's go, Susan.
Yeah, so I have a co-worker. I'll go with his presentation. So he has a PhD. He supervises a number of students for their master's projects. So these master's projects are actually taught masters. Maybe that doesn't make a difference, but they write a thesis that's just like maybe 3 credits. So it's not even like it's not an MPhil. We have MPhils at my university, and we have our own light version of Publish or Perish. You know, we don't have a very big version. So at the moment, our version of Publish or Perish is such that almost nobody's publishing. So in order to get more people to publish, they have a very small incentive, such that there's two incentives. One incentive at my university where I work. One incentive that is there's a very small fee if I tell you actually laugh. So there's a small fee in US that if you actually get published, they'll give you that fee. And in addition to that, because of those high fees for those, you know, publications that are right, so they give, I'm trying to remember, up to 1,000 US, not to you, if you actually get in and they'll give it. So he will fairly got from him just a couple of days ago what he was objecting to for like months to me. I didn't understand. So I'm going to present that and give you the conflict of interest. So he is explaining to me that when he has submitted it to a journal and now asks for the up to 1,000, so maybe even it costs more than that. So he's asking for the maximum they'll give, and maybe it's really at 1,500, and he will pay the rest out of his pocket. They're saying that since his name is not first, so it might be one master's student or two, and he puts his name second. And by the way, I decided to clarify because I already heard your position on this. So let's clarify. These are like, because I've taught some of them too. These are master's students. Most of the supervision is, the project is the supervisor's idea. The students in general, like literally I'm just presenting as it is, tend to struggle. And it is like you like fighting to get the students. Remember, it's a 3 credit thing. They actually do, this might even make it sound worse. They do a 1 credit research seminar. So they literally are ill prepared. And then they're doing this 3 credit. Mostly, almost all of them are the supervisor's idea. Sometimes it's students, but the scenario I'm presenting, you know, it's the supervisor's idea. The student is not struggling to figure out how to do and to graduate. Because we have all of these students who are all about this master's thesis.
Yes.
You know. Anyway, so back to the story. And then he has this publication and he says, well, it wouldn't be right to put his name first. So I said, but hold on, but why wouldn't it be right? Is it your idea? Yes. Who wrote the paper, not the thesis? He said, but Suzanne, you know, they can't write at all. So I have to rewrite, sorry, you know, they've written a maybe 50 to 100 page thesis that they wrote, you know, which a lot of feedback from the supervisor. But the journal paper, he's telling me the truth. He completely takes the essence and summarizes it in a paper. And then I said to him, so why would it, no, I know you're going to have your opinion, but why, it's his idea. He was involved in the entire project. He wants our principal to put his name last. But at the end of it, he wrote the paper. I don't know the paper that's being submitted to the journal. And then he's telling me that institute that I work at, which I just found out about 2 or 3 days ago, refused to pay the fee if his name is not first.
Yes.
So I
Wow,
think that's
Susan.
presented. What's your opinion?
Oh, look, I'm so excited. And look, Josh, I'll use your expertise as our favorite quant in brother. So
And I decided to look up two or three journal articles just now because I was trying to like do some reading.
So Susan, this is great. And look, it's relatively clear what can and should occur here. In the harder sciences, so applied social sciences, right the way through to the harder sciences, that is why the last author exists. Okay, so the last author exists because often it is their lab. So let's say the Quinton lab, right? So it's the Quinton lab. So Jamie Quinton's name is last. And what that means is it was probably his research designed to get the dough and get the grant and so forth. He's provided the observation around the data collection and analysis, and he's done a draft, a substantive draft perhaps of it, but it is the student's work. So the argument is always, Susan, this is where it gets a bit, so that's the normative shape. It's the student's work, the student is the first author, and the person who is the supervisor in particular quant or harder clinical areas is the last author. But if you want to get sort of sticky and the row starts, then it's got to get done in a very precise fashion, Susan. So in other words, there are 3 parts of research. There is the design, research design, data collection and analysis, and substantive writing and editing. And the very definition of authorship, you ain't in the car park to start to be in the paper unless you've done 2 of the 3. Okay, so the first thing is that's the benchmark for authorship. So, so can I also say another problem with supervisors, and this is someone speaking as a supervisor, is we all think we're bloody geniuses and we all think that we're doing so much. Like I wrote that thesis. No, you didn't, you stupid cow. That's narcissistic nonsense, right? So firstly, we all go, oh, look, I'm the smartest person in this room. Like you're not, you're just a random, sort yourself out. So the first thing is we've got to just manage the ego of the supervisor. I'm sorry, Anvita, I'm sorry if I've been naughty, but you know what I'm saying? So someone goes, oh, it was my idea. And I did everything and I wrote it and I hand delivered it on a gold platter to the journal, right? And it's a mate of mine and on we go, right? But actually that's why we have these 3 categories. So Susan, supervisors can over-egg their role. And so they may be first author. I'll give you one example that wasn't sticky at all, but was a blessing, where I wrote with our wonderful former student, Narelle and Jamie, and it was from her thesis, and we had a large, this is interesting for beautiful Adrian, we had a large exegetical component, and we didn't sort of make it one article, we split it into 4. So the 3 of us wrote bits of it, and we'd assumed that Narelle would be the first author on all 4. But in 2 of the cases, I wrote more than half of it, right? I actually wrote more than half of it. But I said to Narelle, I said, look, Dale, I'm comfortable. You call this, okay? This started as your research. Now you decide if you're first author or how you would like the order organised. I'm not bothered, but you decide who's the dominant, because it was close. It was probably, Jamie did about 20 or 30% and the split was pretty even, right? And so Narelle, I think I ended up first author for 2 and she ended up first author for 2. So the first thing I'd say, Susan, is, look, if the guy wants to be first author, sadly, authorship is about power. So if the guy wants to be first author, the guy probably will be first author, right?
No, but the scenario is he doesn't want to be first author. He just wants to get the thing published.
Well,
And the institution is saying that they won't publish it unless the lecturer is first author.
Yeah,
Which
so
to me doesn't make any sense.
Susan, is
That
that
makes no
about the
sense to
money?
me.
Is that about the money? Is that what you were telling me about? They won't co-fund the author's processing fee? Yeah. So for me,
It's about money.
yeah.
They're
So
trying
for
to save
me,
money.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, so for me, darling, we're starting from the wrong premise. The idea that you're wanting, so all this conversation about authorship is being reorganized because of the author's processing fee. The reality is you don't start with author's processing fee. You go to the directory of open access journals, you find platinum or diamond open access, many of which are tier 1, if that's your particular groove thing, and you are not paying. You are not paying. So we've started in a sort of false scenario where people pay, whereas 66% of open access journals, there is no fee. So that's my argument. That's my argument about authorship, sorting the thing out. And if it's about the dough, money has nothing to do with authorship order. There's nothing in any code of conduct around the world, Vancouver, otherwise. There's nothing that says if you're paying that.
The one thing I would take you on though about is, and maybe I need to go into some more reading and come back to you at another date, not today, is that when I look at, I have more than one area of interest in terms of my personal research, but when I look at writing in terms of digital health, many of the best places where the publications are publications that require payment, even when it's not open access. So of course you can go to another, but I'm personally a bit hesitant. So you're saying that I can find, I'm not going to me now. I can find a place to publish and it doesn't matter, and I'm going to.
Yes,
it doesn't.
so Susan,
no.
yeah, so Susan, www.doaj.org, and I am very old, Susan. I am 55, and I have published nearly 600 research objects now, and I have never paid $1 to publish.
But isn't that because? Sorry, don't take me this way. But isn't that because you're in the humanities and
Nope. No, because remember, I publish from public health through, mate.
Oh, okay.
I publish just about everywhere except the experimental sciences. But should we go to Josh, who can jump straight in here? So, but good on, great question, Susan. What a place to start. Authorship. Josh, Begin.
Oh, I just find it fascinating, Susan, the example that they look at first author for that, because I'm from kind of experimental sciences, health sciences, and I agree with Tara's argument around Diamond Open Access, and I support Diamond Open Access heavily. But at the same time, what I have found is that there are more options with Gold Open Access, which is it shouldn't be that way, but it is. And so I found that. So I tried from the Platinum Open Access first, but if I can't get it there, and then there are these more niche journals where there is a fee, then I use similar to what you've got at your university, Susan. We call them transformative open access agreements in Australia by the Council of Australian Universities Librarians, the CAUL, or whatever it's called. But they look at corresponding author to figure out where the payment is. And I find it interesting that that's not the case with your university, because as you said, in that discipline, the senior author is the preferred position, the last authorship. So I would suggest maybe checking in whatever paperwork or whatever policy they have, if there's room for corresponding for him, and pointing that out to them, going, well, no, I'm not the first author, but I'm the corresponding author on the article. And then the other thing is,
The problem, Josh, is that the person who's making this decision is not as educated about real life as you are.
Okay.
Oh, you
Yeah.
love
It's not
it,
about
mate.
having a degree. You hear what I'm saying, Josh?
Yeah, I get
Yeah,
it.
it's really okay.
Yeah, the other thing I was going to suggest is that potentially, and like this is all very weird and ridiculous, but that's how it is. Potentially there's room, if this particular student has some sort of casual position at that university or something that makes them a staff member, that could be a way to go, that they may also be eligible. But again, you might have already checked for that. But I know in some Australian universities, you don't need much of a contract to be able to get pretty substantial financial support for APCs.
Well said.
Yeah.
And Josh, what a great corrective that is. Thank God you're here about the corresponding author. So that's another way where if two people have a sort of 60-40 or 55-45 relationship. So most of you met my wonderful mate, Jackie Hewitt. We haven't written together till very, very recently. But I think on one of the authors, I'm the first author, and on the other one, I'm the second, but the relationship was so close, we swapped the corresponding author. So if one was first author, the other was corresponding, just to really muck the system up. And that's been incredibly successful, Susan. So don't underestimate the corresponding author. Brilliant. Are we moving forward, Susan? Some ideas to think about, darling?
Yeah, that's great.
You're great.
I may come back another week to ask some more questions regarding how that applies to me, but I need to think more before I get into, because I listen to that area, I'm going to think through about me, but that's a good starting point.
Oh, look, I think this is amazing, Susan. And, talking about, and Josh's great point about the complete irrationality of publishing. I think it's great to expose that, to actually talk about this is not rational or logical. This is not about public intellectual work. This is about the exploitation of free academic labour and playing games with us. So it depends how you want to play that game. It's a game of cricket. Are you a speed bowler? Are you a spin bowler? Thanks for playing. Brilliant. We'll go to Maeve in 1 second. We'll go to Jess. Jess, I missed you yesterday while I was at academic board. How are you, Jess?
I'm well, thanks. Were there other people that had their hand up before me, though?
Were you going to raise a question about authorship, darling? Because I was just going, were you in that wheelhouse or were?
No, I'm not in that space. I've got a new question. So
darling, we'll come back to you. We've got beautiful Maeve, then Gay, then Jess. Oh, the ladies in our lives. Go, beautiful Maeve, talk to us.
Hello. So I'm working hard on all my bits. So just for others who may not know, my mid-candidature review is due and needs to be absolutely completed by 18th of April. So under the pump. I was going to put it in the chat, but very brief. But anyone who wants to do some silent writing with me, put your email, contact me. I just want to be online with not talking, but working. So anyone wants to do that, I'm up for it. My thing for today, Tara, relates very directly to recent emails we've had about me needing to have a milestone document.
Yes, darling.
So I have sent an email about that, but I just wondered does it apply to other people at mid-candidature review? And would it be helpful to discuss it for other people who
Oh,
might
look,
need a
look at
milestone
it.
document?
Look, it would be, Maeve, and if you remember, when we've been helping people do the mid-candidature review, we described this as the difficult middle child, of course, for obvious reasons. You know, it's the sort of the middle girl of the Brady's, right? So it's that nightmare sort of a milestone, because it is bits are put bits are put together that sort of are in between. So it's liminal work, and that's why we've been very focused on you, Maeve, in having 2 chapters completed. So it's very much about this work is completed, so you're showing proof of concept at the mid-candidature, and this work is yet to occur. So what occurs in this document is you have 2 chunks of work produced. In the COC, obviously, you have 1 chunk, which is often a literature review. By the mid-candidature, you have 2 brand new chunks. As an appendix, you have your COC document. So that's which you did at the COC.
Yep.
And then with its backward mapping, and then you come to the table with the honest backward mapping. So what you said you would do in the COC, and have you done it, girlfriend? So then you offer the new Gantt chart. Yours is going to be great, Jess. Then you offer a new, you're going to offer a new Gantt chart about what you've done, the new things that you didn't think you would do that you've done, the stuff that you said you were going to do and you didn't do, and why you didn't do that. So it's basically somebody just checking in halfway through and going, is this of standard? Now, it's probably the most important milestone, but it's also the most chaotic. So don't worry about, so there's, in many ways, there's no template, you know, there's not, the COC has, you can give people headings and stuff. The mid-candidature thing is very, very different, because people are all over the shop. Some people have done their data collection, some people halfway through their data collection. Imagine being halfway through your data collection and doing a mid thesis, and that happens, like, I'm halfway through. So do that. And of course, you've got the artifact exegetical thesis that I think we might be talking about with Adrian later on today. And so therefore it is what progress has existed on this bit of the gig, on the artifact elements, what project progress has implemented on the exegetical components, and how do you feel they're dancing together?
Okay. And so have you got like a word length in mind, 2,000-3,000, or do you want more than that? Like,
yeah, it's a good question. It's often similar to the most milestones in their document. Yeah, the chapters are different, maybe, as you know, and obviously you'll have the artifact component, some of the novel that you're going to share. But most milestones are between about 6 and 10, right? So, and they go through, like, you know, who am I? What's gone well? What's gone badly? What have I done? What haven't I done? Professional development. Yeah, I'm just pulling these out. These are some indicative headings. These are not remotely what you can or should do. You know, what's gone well, what's gone badly. And most importantly, remember, the whole point we're doing milestones is for this thing called backward mapping, this backward mapping trope. So you'll be finished in 1 year. What is left to do between April and next April? And that's the final third of the document. So it's the backward mapping is really the most important thing, because, you know, when you're planning, you know what's left to do and you finish in a timely fashion. If it's just, and Vita knows this, at CDU, the crew were just doing annual reviews of progress, like forever, like, are you okay? Yeah. How you feeling? You all right? Yeah. And so it was basically, thanks for that, Anvita. That's exactly, I've gone through all of them, by the way. I had to sign every report off, right? How you feeling? Okay. And ask the supervisor, how's the progress? Okay. So I'm going, I have no information here, right? Whereas the milestone asks, it's there to help you, Maeve. It's there to actually provide the scaffold to get you finished. Whereas the annual review of progress is just going, have you progressed? Yes. Cool. Right. So it really is a scaffolding punctuation protocol to get people finished in a reflexive fashion. And if a student is in trouble, and you're not, mate, but if a student is in trouble, this is the period where it will appear that the middle year is the nightmare. The middle year is the difficult year. So therefore support structures can swing in on a bespoke fashion.
so so one thing you said just at the end there was reflexive. So you're not looking for academic writing here with references. You're looking for a kind of one thing I read about creative PhDs is that they need radical transparency. So I think you said that in something we did. Wasn't when we were talking about the three monkeys.
Yeah, look, radical transparency, I'm a big fan. If you're in the applied social sciences, you've got standpoint theory or positionality. When you move to the top end of town in the high humanities, the weird zone, then you really start to deal with this transformative accountability, not mucking about. But also what I would say, Maeve, is it's yes, reflexive writing, and that's about you and your journey, but it's also got to demonstrate academic protocols. So, it's not let me hold everybody's hand and walk them through the candidature. There's a little bit of that, but it is also, this is a scholarly document. We are assessing you as a scholar and your success through the doctoral program.
So that might, if you don't mind my continuing just a bit more, so that might look like references that are well linked about something I'm saying about my progress, not my progress, what the issues were.
Oh, go full meta. Absolutely. So that's right. If there's been, and I'll just pick something randomly. So if there's been, well, in your case, it's not random. If there's been a movement of institutions,
Yes.
then summoning some research about, and, transfer PhD students are a thing. So talking about the strengths and the challenges of transfer protocols and referencing that, I think that's bloody rocking.
Okay, great. That gives me, so you don't have a particular word count? Oh, you do. You've mentioned 6,000 to 10,000.
6 to 10. 6 to 10 is the most common sort of milestone length. Just because there's certain headings you can put in, and remember, PD's got to be there too, Maeve. The PD that you've done.
And also the podcasts under nitros.
Yes, absolutely. Nitro development, absolutely crucial. Brilliant.
So you're looking at 2 chapters, sort of 6 to 10,000 each, roughly on them. I don't think there'll be 10. I think there'll be
6 to 8's about cool. 6 to 8's cool.
6 to 8, and then you're looking for maybe another 6 in the milestone document.
Brilliant.
Okay, thank you.
Brilliant. Legendary, Maeve. Well done. Oh, we'll go to our next lady of the parish, the wonderful Gay. Now, Gay, of course, exciting day for Gay. Gay, talk to us, Gay.
Okay, some of you know, because I said earlier today that I am putting in my last assignment for my Master of History degree today. That raises a question that's been bugging me for as long as I've been studying, and I've been studying for a very long time.
Me too.
Yes. So the thing is, and other people have said this to me as well, when I think I've done a decent job on an assignment, like an essay, it gets trashed. When I think I've done a dreadful essay, it gets high marks. So that leaves me at the end of my master's degree, and I've got umpteen other degrees as well, including a PhD, which got passed with no revisions.
Yep.
How do I know the worth, the quality of what I produce if I'm getting so much disparity between what I think my work is and what the markers think my work is?
And look, I'll summon the other historian in the parish. So Mary, you and I can have a chat about this as well. Look, Gay, look, again, I'm so old, right? And I really don't get, mate, nah. Remember, my grandmother was albino, right? So it's like, my hair is just weird, mate. I don't know what's going to happen to my hair. It's going to be amazing. But can I just say, Gay, that a decision I made when I was about 22 was I am not going to relinquish my sense of the value of work with what somebody else thinks. And I did that in the early 20s. So I am not wedded to a mark with all the damn degrees I've done. I could give a damn what mark I get. You've heard me say to people, I'm going to offer you feedback. And I reply with, I'm sorry, I'm not interested in your feedback. I'm not interested in your feedback. Right? Because people have to earn the right and earn trust and be compassionate and decent and wonderful people to have any right to offer any commentary about you or your life or anything else. So, Gay, the first thing I'd say is, there's this notion that marking is objective. And anybody that's ever marked knows that it ain't objective. So therefore, it's some random, and, we've got sociology of a brilliant woman finishing a degree. You can know exactly what's going to be happening around that particular paradigm, Gay. Hey, Mary. And so so what I'd say to you guys, you've done it. The completion in and of itself is a magnificent moment. And all I beg of you is you're brilliant. Don't be wedded to what a random has to say about research that you respect. Oh, I got no response there. Got no response there, Gay. Thank you.
Yes. Yes, I absolutely understand that a lecturer's marking is not impartial. I have had lecturers mark me down on original things in an essay because that's not what they were looking for. Excuse me. But I'm not the only person who has said this, that the comments and the marks are skewed opposite to what. So what you're saying, Tara, I think is get your work out there anyway.
Yeah.
And just publish it.
Yeah. If it helps you, I think about early Bob Dylan a lot. And Gay, there was always an argument about Bob Dylan that he didn't do his work to attract an audience. The line was always the audience came to Bob. And I've tried to live that mantra my entire life. And what it means is that I'm not courting an audience. I'm not, writing in a particular way for a particular paradigm for blah, blah, to try and beg someone to read my work. It's like, I'll use early Bob. The audience comes to Bob, right? And Gay, publish it, and water finds its own level. Audiences will find it. And that's why you use social media. If people read it, it's free, they read it, or they don't read it, that's great. But just don't be wedded to the opinions of others, because most people are mongrels, Gay. They are name-calling, aggressive, ignorant morons. Okay, and always remember, Gay, that most academics do not have any teaching qualifications of any kind. They have not been taught to write a curriculum. They've not been taught assessment design, and they've been not taught how to backward map and configure an effective marking schedule.
Thank you for that, Tara. And I hope that that question has helped other people, because I know it's very, very common, because people, like I said, I'm at the end of my degree, this particular degree, and I don't know how good I am, but I know I'm good. Okay. All right. Thank you.
All that matters is how you think about you. That's all that matters. That's all you got control over. And if we start to relinquish our sense of ourselves to other people, that's the path to madness.
Yep.
You're the best. Sorry, Queen Susan, and then straight to Jess. What can we do, Susan, you superstar?
Yeah, so I think you had a really good point about not being taught. So I've been watching your blogs, and one of the reasons in the last 3 months was about like how to supervise. Like, I think that's the one that's just for professors. And like, I don't know, but it's like really intriguing. But on the point of not being taught, I've been supervising primarily undergraduate research and sometimes masters without ever being taught how to do it. And I had this idea that I'm going to sit down with the students I'm doing right now and have a contract, because I heard you say it. Do you have any suggestions? I will be happy. You don't need to spend time now. If you can point me to some website resources or something, or you can tell me now too. But like, I actually have decided that this Thursday I'm having a student to meet with me to sign a contract, written contract. Let me tell you why. I'm just so annoyed. I have 3 undergraduate groups. They're like 5 students each, or 5, 5, and 4. And I have a master's student. And I'm just tired of, I say things orally, and it's like whatever I say, some people hear, and some people like conveniently seem to have forgotten.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
Do you have any tips / mini training?
I have not only a tip, I have an instrument to deploy. So at CDU and a lot of my former...
Could I get it?
Yes, I'll send
could
it.
I find one like yours?
It's free. It's free. So what it's
okay,
called is a supervisory charter, and we run it. Our colleagues at CDU know, because you've had to sign it whenever a supervisor changes with another supervisor. You got to sign it, and it's got 2 columns. This is what the student does. This is what the supervisor does, and both crews. And it's about dialogue and frequency of meetings and all sorts of stuff. And you sign that. And that is an agreement. And every time, say, Invita might add or take a supervisor away, a new one is signed. So everyone sees it again and goes, are we still cool? So it's available for free. I'll send you the free version of it, Susan. And I think I did a training for CDU staff on the use of the supervisory charter.
What do I do? Send you my email? How do I get it?
I'll send it to you on bloody Facebook, mate. You and I are in touch every
Okay,
day on bloody Facebook.
Okay, great.
Bloody Facebook.
No problem.
No problem.
Thank you very much.
You're the best in the universe. And look, should we go to our fourth lady of the parish and see what else occurs? We're at Jess time. Oh, I missed you yesterday, Jess. I was in the middle of this meeting. I'm going, I want to be with Jess.
Oh, we missed you too. Before I get into my question, I actually wanted to comment on what Gay was discussing there before, and just to throw in my two bob, which was doing the bachelor's I've got and the master's degree and being a teacher. I got really good at reading curriculum, assessment criteria, and writing what other people want. I got really good at that. So that looked good on paper. Always got the top marks because I was just going around and giving them what they wanted. And this is why I've struggled with the PhD process, Tara, because for me, this is more difficult. There's no criteria. There's no list of things that I have to make sure that I write to. And I'm being forced to find my own voice, probably for the first time in my academic career.
Wow.
So I really admire all of you, and Gay, what you're saying about finding your own voice and just holding true to that, no matter what the assessors and peer review. Because even when I'm writing something to publish at the moment, my head's going to, what do the reviewers want to hear, instead of what am I trying to say? So thank you, Gay, for highlighting that for me today. And that leads into my question, which is, okay, I am currently publishing my master's thesis, which was, so we all know that ACEs, early adversity, has a direct link to depression. We know this is established in the literature. What my research discovered was that it is mediated by something called perceived social safeness. So when people have social safety in their relationships, this mediates the direct effect of early childhood adversity or trauma. It mediates the direct effect to depression later in life below the level of significance, which was really cool. Okay, so we're writing that up. But my question is, this actually relates to now my new PhD project.
Yeah.
And I actually want to write a new paper that's more looking at how does that finding relate to the literature on polyvagal theory of threat and the way we respond to threat and the impact of the protective effect of social safety. So if I write that up, is that my last research? Or am I just using my last research as a reference to write this new stuff that would be under my PhD?
Now, Jess, the first thing I do is I would write both. I mean, Josh will go to you in a second, but I would separate out the love, girlfriend. So the first thing is the initial project. I would write that up as you intended to write it up, and write that up as a bespoke, separate gig, right? So
yep, that's done. That's done, and it's about to get.
Yeah, so send that out to the universe. Then I would write the interesting sort of liminal twilight zone piece, which is, here is this. Now, cite yourself, for God's sake, self-cite yourself. Self-cite yourself to the piece that was the master's that's come from, right? And moving into the new research. I think that's very clever, Jess. And make sure that you are referencing from whence you came and from whence you are going. Okay, so write a liminal piece for me. Go, talk, Jess.
Because I've been reading Porges' research on, he discovered polyvagal theory, and his most recent work, there's so many, I can see that he's built on his idea. Every time that he publishes, it's a build, and it's been like a 40-year career, 50-year career, researching this one topic. And then I thought, do that.
Yeah. Darling one, and Josh, you might want to speak to this. Jess, darling one, in the old days, which really ended 20 years ago, scholars were the reason tenure existed and the reason we talked about intellectual life is someone started projects when they were 22 and they kept going until they were 82 or 92 or died. Look at Noam Chomsky, right? Chomsky is a great example of that. He has his linguistics, but he also has this great political work that he's still doing. I mean, he looks like he's sort of dead and being propped up in the grave, but man, he is good on you now. Come on, bro. Right? So, my love, that's how academic life is meant to operate. As we get older, we get smarter. We know more. And when I've described people's research lives, Jess, I treat them all as a Polaroid photograph. So when you publish, it is your absolute best self at that moment. And then Polaroid, it resolves, you put it in a photo album. And then you go again, and you know what? It's better because you're smarter. And you keep producing these Polaroids until you're Chomsky at the end going, hello, everybody, let's talk about Palestine, right? So you do that, right? So very, very important. Do that for me. And think of it much more incrementally, Jess. I think the problem with, and Josh, we'll talk about it with you, I think the problem with publishing at the moment is everyone thinks every time we publish, it's a Nobel Prize. And as someone, and of course it's not. It's not. Now, darling, the
most important thing ever.
Yeah. Now, the one thing I tell you, Jess, is as somebody who's old and published a lot, the stuff you think is going to be cited, the stuff that you think is going to go, doesn't. And the sort of random idea that you've just sort of thrown out of the trolley, that's the one that goes and goes and goes and goes. So that's that thing about the audience comes to Bob, right? You think, oh, I know what's going on. I know, and this is the quality piece of work and this will find this audience. And actually, of course, the audience comes to Bob. So you publish something, oh, look, I've made a quirky little idea there. And then all of a sudden, that's the one, whoosh, that takes off.
That's exactly what I was talking about.
And you are right, as always, Gay. Josh, talk to me, brother.
Cheers. I think it's very relatable what you're going through, and I really struggled with it initially, but right now I just think it's a gift. I sort of think of my like publishing pattern as some sort of, you know, highly replicative cell or something, you know, like it's sort of the base sits there, but then every time I'm doing up a paper and I do the literature review, I find new literature and that spawns a new idea, or I find a new journal with a new kind of interdisciplinary lens to it. And I think, oh, that thing I was thinking about in the back of my head would smack bang sit there. And so, you know, I have a folder, and I would suggest it too, having a folder that's just papers to write in the future, and then just be really liberal and never abandon anything. And if you think of something, you just stick a folder there immediately. And I've done that, and it expands exponentially, and it's terrifying sometimes, but it means you always have something to write, basically. And yeah, I just think that's how it's gone for me too. Every time I write a paper, I end up with ideas for another two.
Exactly.
Basically,
Everything becomes the seed for the next one. Josh so brilliantly said. And Jesh, the key is be kind to yourself, be comfortable with yourself, and center yourself, and believe in what you're doing. Take a step and then another. You're not writing a Nobel Prize. You're writing a PhD. It's the worst research you'll ever write, not the best. So write me the worst research that you'll ever write, and publish on the way through, and the audience will come to Bob.
That's really helpful. Thank you both. Thank you all.
Oh, you're amazing. And look, I will just quickly touch base with Mary, the lady in green, who is always such a light of our lives from the People's Republic of Western Australia. So obviously, Mary, you've had the publishing journey. Do you want to give us sort of the update on the amazing things that are happening to you at the moment? I mean, it's just amazing.
Yeah, well, it's interesting, the talk about what your supervisors think of your work, etc., because I did have an article that I wrote based on my honours thesis, which spent 18 months being reviewed and didn't get up. But then I presented on it at a conference, and now I've been asked to do a book chapter from it. So, and the deadline is the 1st of May, so that's really good. And I'd also just like to celebrate with you all that I'm starting to find how I write, which is really good. I have been working for the last, many months now. I've submitted one lot of writing for my milestone 2, and I'm going to be doing my milestone 2 next week. But in the meantime, I've been working on 2 chapters that go before that one. Well, I thought it was 1, but yesterday I started doing, listen to a lot of Tara.
Oh,
and
that's horrible.
And how to do a paragraph, how to do a sentence, how to do this, keyword, writing topic sentences, which has been my weakness so far. So I did this whole exercise where I just went through everything I'd been writing from the archives, which is a very long-winded process. It's really a lot of work to write from the archives and then make a story out of it. I've been learning how to do it, basically. So then I wrote down all of the topic sentences and I bolded them and I put them at the top of each paragraph, and then I put everything under it that went with that topic sentence. So I had this document where I had topic sentences that told a story, a shorter story, and then I put it all into my document, did that. Yesterday, I finished putting everything under the topics, and I looked at it, it was like 18,000 words. I thought, well, that's way too long for a chapter. So I thought, what'll I do? But I thought, well, I have to say all this. So then I had a quick look at the index I'd done in Word, and it very neatly splits into 2.
Amazing.
And I suddenly realised I had 2 chapters. So I'm starting to feel like I'm really, this is a real process of me learning how to write, basically. And now it's starting to come together, and I'm starting to feel like, yeah, this is how I write, this is how I do the work, and this is how it comes together. So it's been a breakthrough week for me.
Mary, you are absolutely amazing. And Jesh, do you see why I say write the thesis? Don't write it as a series of articles and staple it together, right? Write a thesis, because part of what you're learning when you write a thesis is you're learning to do all sorts of writing, including writing an article. Because when you're an academic, you write all sorts of material. And Mary, it is amazing how often when you sort of sit down and have one of those, bum up like a lizard drinking, as my 95-year-old father would say, bum up like a lizard drinking. When you have one of those and you write that, it's amazing how often there's a split and you suddenly go, wow, cleanly I've written 2 and our business is concluded.
Yeah, it's just an amazing feeling. I've now got 2 chapters I need to edit, not just a whole mess of stuff that I knew I needed to write out and I didn't write, and I didn't know what shape it was going to take.
Oh, we're so, honestly, Mary, you have been such a joy in my life, in everybody's life, but in my life. I'm just so glad I've met you. It's just unbelievable, Mary. You're legendary, girl. Legendary. And look, I will do,
thank you.
I will do a wave to Rowan too. Rowan has sent me and also Jamie and I beautiful emails in the last couple of weeks. So Rowan is sort of listening and being with us. But Rowan, you are very precious, and I thank you for the beautiful emails you've been sending us. And you just sit and be happy. You're like holding up digital office hours, Rowan. So you keep doing that. It's lovely to see Jen in. And Mary, look, considering you, Anvita straight in. Come on, Anvita. Your hands up.
That was really ill-timed. We were supposed to go out when we were done talking about this, but I had something to ask about the thesis and the PhD process.
Yes, mate.
Not really related to publishing in particular.
No, let's do it.
At what stage does someone become an advisor to your PhD? Like, so I'll tell you what's happening with mine at the moment. My PhD was always going to be 3 studies.
Yes.
We went back and forth a little about whether it was 1 systematic review and 1 large study, or whether it was going to be 3 separate ones. But it's come down to the fact that it's 1 systematic review and 2 actual independent studies. Yes. And now for the last one, we have somebody who's a methodologist, an expert in that particular niche field come in. Yes. But it's obviously he's, decided to join us and consult on this particular methodology piece towards the end of my candidature. Because now I'm like towards the end, I needed methodological input.
Very common.
He's been very, very nice and come on board, and he's like, yep, I'm happy to assist, I'm happy to help. This is what I can do to reshape this particular study, because it does need significant overhaul.
Yes.
Unfortunately, and that's obviously very new. So does he now become an advisor on my project?
Right. So there's a CDU answer to that question, Anvita, and
Yeah,
then
and that's the reason why I'm asking, because I always see whenever you have like supervisor update forms, there's always a section for, do you have an advisor on your thesis?
yes.
So does he become a supervisor, or would I have to list him as an advisor?
And look,
Because
Anvita,
I'm kind of stuck.
I'll be honest here, when I was trying to do, and of course did huge policy and procedural updates at CDU last year, I tried to remove the advisor.
Okay.
And but again, we'll talk about the gift of it and the benefit of it. But the reason I was removing the advisor is that the advisor was not under the rubric of the CDU staff code of conduct. So for me, that was creating vulnerability for students, is that, you know, noting sexual assault, sexual harassment is high in the graduate space, authorship matters that we've discussed and so forth. I want everybody that is supervising you to have to abide by a code of conduct. And if a student sees a behavior, they call it out and there's a code. If someone's an advisor, they're not within that wheelhouse, right? So, but having said that, I failed, as I do 99% of the time, to remove the advisor from CDU, and the advisor has some advantages. Can I say, outside of CDU, if a methodology expert came in at the latter stages to help you, they would be an associate supervisor, and it's not a problem at all. That's great. That's terrific. They'd be signed in. Very common, Advita, right at the end, final 3, 4, 5 months, you go, I need a statistician. I need biostats. I need health informatics. I need a methodologist, right? Very common. Thanks for playing. And they enter and they, you know, do their supervisory charter and everything's cool and we're with. Now that's what I would do, because the student and I would argue the colleague are both safer having done that. But we have advisors. We have this bit on the form that goes, you know, do you want to offer some advice, comrade? Yeah.
Because, of course, the question that's now in my head is, again, now it comes down to authorship, right? Because all this time it was me and my 3 supervisors.
Yes.
And now with, you know, an advisor coming in for one particular project, or like advisor, supervisor, associate supervisor coming in, it's always, now I'm concerned about authorship, because if methodological advice is coming externally, you know, or there are tweaks happening to a particular study, then how does authorship on that bit work?
Right.
And then how does mention in my thesis, where does he get mentioned?
Yeah. So again, it depends on the role. So if it's about the publication, and as we've talked about, if this gentleman or lady or non-binary identifying human they probably don't have a role in research design, because they're coming into an already existing design, right? Data collection and analysis methodology, they'd have a role there, because methodology is about data collection and analysis. That's what it is. And they may have a role, if you and they so choose, to be involved in writing and substantive drafting. They have 2 of the 3. So on the piece that they're advising on, if they fulfill 2 of the 3, they've got it. It doesn't matter if they're an advisor, an associate supervisor, a guy you meet in the car park. Doesn't matter. If they've got 2 of the 3, they're an author.
All right.
If they haven't got 2 of the 3, they ain't an author.
Okay. Thank you. And I'll bring this up because I wanted to have this conversation and just figure out what other people would do in this situation. Because I've had a supervisor of mine retire last year, but is still there. So I'm just wondering, does another one get added? But I'll discuss that with my supervisor.
Look, I'd add. It's like marriages. I'd add another one. I'd be, you know, at this late stage, it's all about you. You are the star of your own life. If another human can hold your hand and help you through this tough last few months, then that's a great thing. If the only reason I wouldn't add somebody, and again, you've got to be careful with dialer crowd. So the students that have dialer crowd supervisors, because the supervisors have scraggies, right? So the supervisors don't get on. And that's why, Jess, when we were working on our new panel, remember, I spent a lot of time making sure that I got on with your principal supervisor, right? So that relationship is crucial, because if they don't get on, Anvita, there's scraggies and they actually block your progress.
I think they all get on. We're definitely really looking up to him for this advice, because this individual obviously is very, very well versed in this little niche area that's now the biggest part of my PhD. So
I mean, we'll go to Jess, and then we might go to beautiful Jen as well to offer commentary and advice on that. I've offered my advice, but I'm a random. Jess, what's your view, considering you've moved through a bit of a dialer crowd of supervisors?
My view on the supervisor process, yeah, I agree with Tara that it's really important for supervisors to get, to be amicable. But I also found that I had a role to play there too. I had a voice, and my voice was probably, it's my PhD, and I've come to realize that I call the shots and I decide what supervisors are needed for. And once I sort of transitioned into that, the first year of my PhD was me asking them what, they think everyone should be doing. But then when I switched over into, actually, this is my project and I need this supervisor for this advice, I need this supervisor for this advice. Sometimes I want to meet alone with this supervisor. Other times I want us to meet it all as a group. This is how it works best for me, and everyone else is happy with that, because supervisors are busy, and I've found that they actually respond very well to that directive, and like, what do you need me to do? Yep, here's my advice, and then move on.
I've kind of been doing that, so that's helped, and thank you so much, Jess.
So, and Vita and Jess, I mean, Jess, the metaphor we use, isn't it, that we are your consultants. So when you consult us, and we offer our consultancy to you, and then when you need us to shut the hell up and go away and go shopping, we do that.
Yeah, absolutely. So because the whole process is because we are also becoming an expert. So we can't do that if we sit there listening to other people all the time.
Well said. We've got Josh and beautiful Jen. We'll finish with lovely Jen, and then we've done we've done none of our homework, but what a fun week we've had again. So Josh, talk to me, Josh.
I was just going to say, and Vita, I think it's important that you just advocate for your contribution, because ultimately authorship is very much decided by power dynamics. So what I would do is I would send my manuscripts off, and I would have in the first author position, then I'd put a comma, and then I'd have square brackets, and I'd write all the other people, and then I'd write authorship order to be determined, and send it to them, and just go, you all have your little fight. And it's done then. So you just advocate that you're fine, and then you don't need to worry about whatever they do, right? You're going to have your own opinions of who did the most, where they should be, but ultimately it's probably just going to be a bunch of politics that decides it. And it's better if you just get on with your life instead of having to deal with it ultimately, because you probably deal with enough of it already. So
thank you.
Yeah, that's my suggestion, would just be stick yourself first where you belong, because it's your article, and then let them do whatever they're going to do.
Yep.
While you work on other things that are more important.
I think that's
thank you.
Absolutely brilliant. Can I just say, Josh, whenever I talk to you, I remember why I mostly write on my own. So I thank you. It's like square brackets, and it's unbelievable. Let's finish with the light of our lives, Jen. Jen, any advice you'd offer about supervisors? Who's in, who's out, advisors, getting everyone facing the table, Jen?
Hi. So firstly, just let me apologise for stepping in late, but I have another meeting on a Friday morning, so thank you. I'm going to say to Anvita and to all of us, I feel like we've really suffered. Anvita and I are in the same research centre, and I feel like both of us and the few others in our cohort have really suffered from not having supervisors who really actually came to grips with our methodologies, and not having a methodology expert on our panel in some way, shape or form. And so that's one thing.
Yes.
That if I was starting again now, I would have a supervisor who understood from the get-go what I was doing.
Yes.
And my second thing is have a conversation directly with Steve. That's what I would say. Like, talk to him one-on-one, get to know him, ask him about his experience as a supervisor. If you brought him on your panel, what do you think he could offer? What does he think he could offer you in the time frame that you've got left? Like, ask him and say you've got a choice of adding him as an associate or a advisor, and that you're deciding. So you've got some questions for him.
And Vita, darling, use my document. If you put Tara Brabazon's supervisory or supervisor charter in Google, you'll get a free version of that document that you can download. I think it's on Scribd. So that might provide a bit of a structure for
Yeah.
the conversation, because you don't want to sort of go and like, how are you feeling? How am I feeling? Are you a nice man? Are you a nice man? And at least you've got sort of some punctuation points to discuss. Jen, is that helpful? Would that relax people?
I think that's a great idea.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. And Jen, I'm so
So
sorry.
one other thing,
No, Jen, please.
he is the best known, most respected Australian author in that field. And I think if he seems like a good fit for you, it's going to be good for your future. It's going to be good for your publications.
Thanks,
But
Jen.
but if you feel like he's, trustworthy.
See, and again, I apologise to Jen and to Anvita. The whole point, the whole reason that a confirmation of candidature was invented and put in the first year was to sort the methodology out, right? The reason the damn first milestone was put in place is what's the literature, what's the gap in the literature, and what is your method to fill it, right? And that was the whole point of the first year. So I'm just so sorry that's happened to the pair of you, and let's try and make sure it just doesn't happen anymore. You are both very precious. Can I say, colleagues, we've got a stack of homework about book chapters, artifact exegesis. Adrian and I, we're going to have our moment. Adrian, we're going to have our moment next Friday morning. We are together as a family. Colleagues, I thank you so much for a really fascinating and diverse hour, this one. You are very precious. Rowan, we adore you. And Vita, Jess, legendary. Josh, can't manage without you. Colleagues, see many of you in Right Club. Blessings. Have a lovely weekend. See you soon. Bye-bye. Fantastic.